Should be any second. Good morning, Instagram. This is your host, Splash. I hope you are all having a great day. I'm about to drop a bunch of fucking knowledge on you guys with my guest, Tyler. But before we get to him and what he's about, let's hear from our sponsor this week. Hey everyone, Splash here with Monkey Run Products, your go-to ladder safety and paint accessories. Let's first talk about their paint accessories. If you're going through rollers and just tired of throwing them away or just don't have the time to clean them, they have the new Spin Pro and Spin Pro Mini available. It's an amazing tool to do your 3-inch all the way up to your 18-inch if you have the wherewithal to use those monstrous rollers on the job site. Also, their ladder accessories are amazing. It's like having an extra hand up on the ladder, but safely being able to access all your tools that you need to get the job done. Visit my friends at monkeyrung.com, use my code SPLASH10, and make sure you subscribe to their emails because they have a whole list of tools coming out for 2023, and you do not want to be left behind. All right, Evan. Hey, listeners, please make sure you go and subscribe to the podcast and hit that like and follow button, all that jazz. And lastly, I don't like to ask for this, but my sponsors are asking. Leave me some reviews. It means a lot to us. Let me know whether it's a 1-star asshole or a 5-star kick you in the ass. Just leave me a review. Let me know how I'm doing. And my guest today is Tyler from one of the weirdest places I'd ever thought I'd meet someone on TikTok, from Western Welding Academy. How are you doing today, Tyler?
Good. How you doing, Splash?
I'm fucking awesome, man. We've had an opportunity to chat before the podcast, but let me kind of open the door of how I found you. So those that do follow me and listen to my show know that I love social media. I'm a social media whore. I will admit it. I whore myself out, and I watch a bunch of other whores whore themselves out to do dumb videos. One thing that when I came back in doing my podcast, I told myself that I was going to be a difference maker. I was going to be a person that made a change in the blue collar world. I recently did a post talking about, like, if I were to die today, what would I want people to say? I would want people to say, like, he gave everything he could and he had passion and love. And I found your guys' TikTok page, and I know you'll know this video, but I saw this young man. They were welding. Now, I've never welded. Let's just get this out. Like maybe in 9th grade. So It was like nothing.
High school.
Yeah. High school. And so this guy was a teacher. I don't know what his name was. And he was going through these different booths. Well, they looked like they were booths where people were welding. And he was saying, hey, what's this weld? And the student be like, oh, that's $12. I was like, nope, that's $32. Next one. What's this weld? Maybe 15. No, this is $42. Like, come on, like, see this line. The cameraman did a great job. And I got the chills. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? So I went to the page, I followed. I'm like, oh my God, this is a welding school. Like, what? There's blue collar schools.
Oh yeah.
Pump the brakes, let's, and make some treads on the asphalt. Like, what the fuck is this? So I reached out to you guys. I don't remember who maybe it's Bo. I think I talked to Bo.
Director of marketing.
Yep. And he's like, hey, yeah, we got to get Tyler on to talk about it. You guys were on a blue collar tour, hence your hat. I'm looking at your hat. I'm like, hey, that's like mine. It says BCT. Like, it's all about the blue collar, the merch, the swag, that. But Tyler, who are you? And what is your program? What is Western Welding Academy?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. So that video that you saw, that's what are you worth? And that's one of the ways, there's a lot of negative people out there, and we always want to be uplifting and motivating and inspiring. These are really, really high paid jobs. And that's one of the content, one of the pieces of content that we put out that does really, really well, because it speaks to people right down to the core of their soul, that you're going to produce something with your hands and you're going to get paid for that. And so being able to validate that and really understand what your worth is, because the world needs producers. The world needs blue collar people, And who I am, I'm Tyler Sassy. I'm the founder and CEO at Western Welding Academy. This is a company we started we're going on our 4th year, August 2019, and we've weathered some pretty savage challenges since our birth. We went through a presidential election, coronavirus, negative oil prices. I mean, just about, the world has just dramatically changed. And what we really found was social media is such an incredibly powerful tool, and if we just put content out, um, that's how we tell our story. That's how we tell our story. And you know, at the end of the day, we really boiled down like, what exactly do we do? Uh, and Simon Sinek's got a great book about why, right? Like understanding your why and what really deep down in your soul and your guts, like what drives you and inspires you. And our why really is the youth of our nation. And I mean, I'll just kind of throw it out there. Anybody who knows me sees American flags all over the place. I care about America. This is my hometown. And so the youth of America, they're um, being attacked by just like every, it's harder growing up in America today. It's harder to be American youth because you're being sold to, you're being advertised to, and there's not, the world has changed so much in the last 10 years, 15 years that there's just no real good roadmap,
I hate to say the
right?
filters right now.
Say again.
There's no filters.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't
So
we don't have parental advisory stickers.
right, yeah,
Go in and see anything,
right.
and
Uh,
it's
uh,
there.
Right. And so what are we doing fundamentally is we're building a better generation, right? And so how do we do that? As a superintendent, as a welder foreman, I worked all across America. I got my start on the West Coast and worked my way all the way across the East Coast over the course of my career. And one of the big things that I would really struggle with is getting people that wanted to show up, that were passionate about what they were doing. They're making a killing, and so it really, like when I boiled it down, it comes down to work ethic, accountability, and integrity. Work ethic. I'm gonna show up every single day. I'm gonna work all day. I'm gonna be drug free. I'm gonna do my deal. Accountability. What does that mean? It means when I screw it up, I'm gonna own it. Extreme ownership. Jocko Willink's got a great book on that. And integrity. I I'm gonna do what I said I'm gonna do. And so
Yeah,
that's our like three driving cornerstones of our business model and what we do and how we do it. Now it's inevitable we're going to teach you how to weld if you are accepted and you come to Western Welding Academy. It's inevitable that you're gonna learn how to weld. But what we really want to teach you is work ethic, accountability, and integrity. These are traits that are not. You're not just born with them. Like, well, you either have them or you don't. These are skills that you're taught, and you're taught by your parents. By your father, your grandfather, aunt, uncle, older brother, somebody in your life. When you were young and impressionable, taught you that.
yeah. It's the fact that you have a school that does it is right, and I love that you're talking about this young generation. I'm 43. You seem I think you're younger than I am, um, and the fact that you care about it is so interesting to me because when I was in my 30s and I started getting on social media, I got a bunch of painters that would write me on DMs or create fake Instagram pages of like hate, and it was
Oh
all
yeah,
geared towards why are you giving away our secrets?
right,
And I
right.
remember, like, I've had many conversations with them, because usually what happens is your haters befriend you. They want to,
Oh yeah,
the junk smells great, and then they like, oh wait, you've never worked for another painter, or you never went to welding
right,
school, whatever the situation may be.
right.
And now, like smarter splash, I understand it, so I can have this conversation now. But like, I told them one time, I said, listen, I love showing what I fuck up because I know someone else out there wants to
Yeah,
see it.
right.
I know we have these secrets. I talked to my dad who's blue collar, and he was like, "Hey," he is a woodworker, like very like he did those signatures of like when you go to a doctor's office and they'd have
Hmm.
their signature carved in wood. Like he's like, "Oh, I would never share how I do this because and I just completely view that differently because there's another generation after me that has to support this. I've said it for years. You've never maybe heard me say this, Blake. We make the world go around, blue collar. When I say we,
Yes.
I mean
Yes.
every blue collar man and woman. I love computers. I love all that. But if we didn't build that building from start to finish, you couldn't make. I don't care how many rocks you dug up to get the chips and all that shit.
Yep.
You need a
Yep.
blue collar badass,
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
of us to
Yeah.
build that.
Yeah.
And now fast forward to today, 2023 of March. This year starts. Actually, I think last year started, maybe COVID, but I was looking at some numbers. This year alone, you're going to get more men and women in the trades retire. Like absolutely fucking
Yes.
retire.
Yes.
What's
The
going to
baby
happen?
boomers.
Yep. But to compound that, and this is to call out you younger generations, like I love you and I'm always going to be here to support you. But what I don't support is this. I saw this again. I'm on social media all the time. I saw this video of this kid complaining about having to work at Starbucks in the afternoon and having to work 40 hours a week to pay his rent. And he went on this tangent, and I looked at it. I tried, like, being a dad to young kids. Like, I'm like, God damn it! Well, if this is my son, I probably punch him in the face.
Right.
But he was saying, he's like, you don't work. We working too much. We don't get to have fun. And I know that's been a common thread for years. But in the blue collar space, I don't know if you agree with me, but I firmly agree with this. We have more fun. It's just different.
Yeah.
You may think we work harder, but come on.
It's a family out
Do
there.
you
It's a
know
family out there.
Do you know how much we fuck around on a job
Oh
site?
yeah. 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 Oh no. I mean, honestly, every time I go on vacation, I tell my wife, you know, when we're coming back, I'm like, I'm wore out. I'm exhausted. I got to go to work,
Yep.
And cause there's this serious satisfaction of being able to create and produce something, knowing that the efforts of your labors are they're literally contributing to mankind. And so to your earlier question, I'm 35 years old, and really the age of people throughout. So there's a book out there. I can't remember the author he was on Rogan, I don't know, a month or two ago, and I read his book a few months ago, and then I happened to see somebody sent me the podcast because I'm talking about it, but his name's Peter Zehan, and he studies like demographics. He's a geopolitical strategist, so he studies basically age groups of people in all these different countries of the world, and he studies resources. So where your raw materials and your fertilizers and your food is grown, and how like from a economic perspective, because it all comes back to economics.
Yeah.
And what's going on in the world that a lot of people don't understand. And there's a few people talking about it. I did see, and I talk about it all the time. And so, I'm not on social media very much. As far as like, I mean, my feed never really has anything on there that I want, because I'm not the guy that scrolls it, but,
Yeah.
but people send me stuff all the time when they're like, hey, you were just talking about this, what about this or that? And so there is some big people, Elon talks about it all the time. Patrick B. David's talking about it. There's some definitely some really influential people that do understand, but when the demographic of a lot of these countries, and we're in this global supply chain where a pair of pants literally is touched by 14 different countries, from the thread, the ink, the fabric, and so, but as these different ages of these different countries, as they're aging, and when you look at society like a pyramid, right? The bottom are the non-producers. These are people from 0 to 16 years of age. You might get your first job at 16, and then you become up into the producing class. And so, 17 to 65, these are people that are producing something. And then once you retire, you go back to the non-producing. And then at the very top, that's your administrative, your government, the tribal leader, in a sense. If you study it from a tribe perspective. I love that blue collar tribe, by the way. That's what kind of reminded me of it. But what happens in these societies is there becomes more non-producers than there are producers. And so what happens is, like, for an example, if you read Peter Zehan's book, in 5 years, Japan is going to lose its ability to maintain its infrastructure. So what is that going to do? Like, what does that mean to me as an American or as a young person in America? What that means is, the last couple of years, we've heard a lot of politicians really hammer on, we got to bring this manufacturing back home. And then coronavirus really hit, and it's like, holy crap, I can't get anything because it was made in China or it was made in some other. Well, what does that mean? That means for any young person out there or any person out there, it's not we should bring it home, although yes, we should bring it home, because anything made in America is that keeps everything here in our ecosystem. But it's inevitable that it gets brought home. This as these in America, there's only 4 countries. I don't know. You read the book or listen to the podcast. He'll give you stats way better than I can. But there's really only 4 countries that have the resources and the demographics to make it in this new world when the global supply chain crumbles. And manufacturing is inevitably going to come back to America. And the survival of America, the world that our kids go into, our grandkids go into, our great-grand, that literally depends on there being enough people that want to work with their hands and produce something, because all that stuff, all those products, everything that people just totally take for granted, that was made possible by blue collar people. They got up every morning. They went to work. Right.
We're the fucking root.
Right. And so you're seeing a lot of people really start putting meat behind it. That's why I just love what you're doing, because you're telling the story. What does it mean? Like, explaining to people, what does it mean to be blue collar? And it's, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And us blue collar folks, we got it made. And so the wages are just going off the charts, and that's where, I'm, as a welder, I never went to college. As a welder, I made $352,000 a year working by the hour. And so I just, a carpenter can make $100,000 a year, no problem. A plumber can make $150,000 a year. I see a meme the other day that says, if you can't study hard in school, hopefully you can finish concrete. Like, that's like this, like, you're low on the totem pole of society. Well, I had a superintendent friend call me a few months back. He says, hey, we're paying $75 an hour for concrete finishers. So I don't know about you, but $75 an hour, that's a great living to me, So
you're hitting on a lot of points that hit home to what the tribe is. The reason why I call this a tribe, but we're a fan. Like, this is, first and foremost, if you're new to this podcast, this is your fucking space. You're more than welcome to always call in, bullshit, tag me. We'll talk about it. If you need to scream because you had a bad fucking day, this is your place. That's on the mental health side of life for me.
Sure.
But I think I firmly believe that here was a conversation I had recently. I was met up with some friends, we were having some beers and just bullshit about life. And they were talking about California going all to electrical cars. And my son, he's 17. He's in this. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He loves cars. I talked to you about me. He's mentioned he wants to weld.
Yeah.
He doesn't like heights, so maybe being a painter doesn't fancy him. But I'm always the kind of parent, like, do what you want to do, just find passion in it. That's what I teach. Like, if you're passionate about it, that is. And my friends were like, "Oh man, don't tell your son not to go into auto mechanics." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And like, no, dude, all the cars, they're like, and this is the typical.
Yeah.
I want to label them, but there's not a label yet that someone's created. But it's like, they're like, oh, well, in 2030, he's not going to have a job. Like, are you fucking kidding me? What about all those people like me that like that 1980 Ford Power Stroke diesel?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a mechanic. I'll be the first to fucking tell you, I'll fuck up a car and have to pay you triple the amount. That's why I pay my mechanics to do it.
Right.
But I told my son in the conversation we're having, I said, listen, if you go into mechanics, you will always be needed.
Right.
And then when I was talking to my friends, I said, listen, every trade, there's not a trade right now that I can think of that you won't be needed. Concrete, framers, welders, painters, drywallers, roofers. You can go on and on and on. What I'm seeing now, and this is from the business side of owning a paint company, since COVID hit, the world has shown themselves there's a lot of lazy motherfuckers out there. There's a
Right.
lot.
Right.
And then the government started giving out these, like, if you get fired, and I don't even know what the fuck it was. Like, I mean,
Entitlement programs.
I get fucking calls every day about PPE, and I never did one.
Right.
Like, hey, you had employees. Like, well, yeah. Actually, during COVID, I went from having 3 to almost 30.
Right.
But every one of them, without, okay, I'll be fair to numbers. I like to be very actual. 3 of them were good friends of mine, so I can't count them in because they know I don't do this shit. But of the other 30s, excluding them, every one of them asked me to pay them under the table. Every one of them had a reason why, because they wanted that extra money. And then
Right.
my answer was always no. If you want more money, show yourself. And this is my way of teaching. Show yourself you're worth that. If you think
Right.
you're worth $40, I will
Right.
fucking happily give it to you.
Right.
But there's an expectation.
You have to
that
produce
comes
$40
along with
worth
that.
worth of work.
Yes.
Right. Right.
And to me, the producer, and that's a great word, if you're producing, you aren't calling your boss to say, hey, where's the, I don't know welding terms, but like,
Right.
where's
Right.
the propane? Where's the gas?
Right.
Where's
Right.
the
You just
paint?
get out there and you figure
Just
it out.
do it.
Right.
Now,
Right.
But I think that go before our time,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm hearing, because some of them were, a little older, my age or older, a lot of them are like, well, if you showed up at work, like it's this interesting conversation that I don't think people talk about, but it's a real conversation that happens. Like, well, what if I'm not here when you show up? Well, someone's going to tell me, well, yeah, Freddie had to go get fucking paint. Okay.
Right.
And of course, as the business owner, what the fuck was wrong?
Right. Right.
So I challenged Matt, and this included me, but now that I don't have my employees, it's not anymore. But like, if you expect your producers to produce, stop babysitting them and acting like they need to be babysat.
Right.
So it's
Right.
a mirror image of how you're managing your
Yes.
corporation.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing. I'm having this aha moment with you, Tyler. I know these things to be true because I did that.
Yeah.
You know? So for you as a welder, like, I don't know shit about welding.
Right.
But how did you come to knowing that you wanted to start a school? What was it like? You have, I read your website. You're very accredited in the welding world. I actually don't know if I see someone says they have a certification, smack on the ass, like, hey, great job. I don't know what the fuck it means, but that's cool.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you have a lot of certifications. So how, because not every blue collar job has a certificate.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to certify you as a painter.
Right. Yeah. It's not a certified painter. Now I'm sure there's training programs that you can go and get trained from, say, the paint supplier or something.
Most of them just watch YouTube and get the YouTube certification.
Yeah. And the welding space is, right. In the welding space, it's a little trickier. And I want to circle back just real quick because I want to make you aware of something. So you said there's not necessarily a name for people that are anti-trade or non-believers, and then the actual name is trade hater. So so hashtag trade haters, right?
I'm writing that down right now.
Right. So anyways, in the welding space, when you go back into history, and I love history because I believe that the ones that don't understand their history are doomed to repeat it. So if you go back into history, you go back into the era of the kings and the queens and the tribes of people, the wealth and the health, the security, really when it came down to a nation, if they were going to go to war or one tribe against another tribe, inevitably, obviously it comes down to numbers. If we got 10,000 people and you got 1,000, we can probably attack you with cigarette butts and throw rocks and be fine. But if you go back into the what often led to one tribe overtaking another was the skill of their craftsmen, because he built their plowshares, he built their swords, their shields, their everything, every tool that they use to grow their food, to defend their families, the comforts, the ease. Think of hinges, think of everything that's metal. That blacksmith had to create that. Well, what is the modern day blacksmith? It's a welder. And so every plant, every wood, concrete, steel, rubber, anything that you just totally take for granted. Your windshield in your car, right? That comes through a plant, and that plant is all made out of metal. It's all got high pressure pipe in it. Whether it's natural gas, whether it's steam, heating, cooling, weird exotic chemicals, all that comes through high pressure pipe, and it's all got to get welded. So going back to the health and weld security of a nation, it's based on its welders, and there's a lot of people that really understand that concept. And so when it comes down to certifications, um, you know, there's always every single weld you make, you've got to be certified. And there's all kinds of non-destructive testing. They'll X-ray the weld. They use ultrasonic to look for impurities, cracks. So welding is definitely it's a very highly skilled uh, space, and there's a ton of regulation on it. There's a ton of and as there should be, right? Because there's a lot riding on. You go to a powerhouse that produces electricity, and the main steam line, the 24-inch pipe that's that thick. There's 47 passes that welder's got to put on, and every single pass has got to be clean, because that pipe is going to put 2,500 psi of steam in that thing and power the HRSG. I mean, it's real, right? If that
Yeah.
thing blows apart, like, guess what? That's going to like wipe the whole city off the face of the earth. We can't have that, So there's a lot riding on that. But
So can I want to ask a question for those that don't know, because I don't know either.
right,
And we don't need to get super technical. We can maybe say that for another show, but you have what I'm hearing you say is these certifications are mirrored off of the type of different welds. So there's like a car, whatever welds are in a car, because they have to hold weight, or bridges, or
right.
stair welds. So these welds have different names. I'm sure you guys have named them some pretty interesting things.
Right.
I think it's a blue collar thing that we love. Another thing, like, we get to name shit. Like, hey, this is called the Splash, or this is called the Tyler. Well, why? Because fucking Tyler did it. I don't know. Don't ask me. Just fucking weld the Tyler. Like,
Yeah.
So there are these different things, and this goes to your school. Like you're integrating these different types, because in that video that we talked about, that is one of the things I saw, is that you were having this these different welds were being shown.
Yeah.
If you can, how many different welds are there?
Oh,
Is there a number you could give us? Maybe a slight number.
No, but to relate it to painting, how many different colors of paint are there?
Way too many.
Thousands, right?
Way
I don't
too
know.
many.
Hundreds of thousands. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what we do is we recreate. Now they all fall in line with they all are you can base them probably into 3 or 4 different kind of categories. You've got your structural steel, your ornamental, and your high pressure piping, your low pressure piping. And what we do is we recreate. If you come to our school, all over the school, we've got these simulators where we're recreating. I was talking to one of our instructors last night. He was on his way to third shift, which starts at 10 o'clock at night, goes till 6 o'clock in the morning. And he said, we're building a new simulator. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Tell me about it. And he said, well, this was a weld that I made in the field, because we've got simulators everywhere. We recreate these scenarios that the hardest one, and this particular one, this is just something that's fresh, he said, there's a weld. I had to crawl into a steam drum and make this weld, and it had to be perfect. And he said it was such a tight space, and it was such a hard weld to make that his welding partner took a picture, and he said, we're recreating that exact simulator and we're building this simulator for our students to go in and read, so I don't know. I mean, I just think it's like this is prep for the big leagues, right? What we do every single day, and we've got a curriculum that we follow, and there's these little hold points where they'll go and weld on a simulator, and because as their skill gets up, we want them to go into that, and when they get in the field, they're like, yeah, what do you got? you know, what the foreman's like, well, I need you to come up here. Well, okay, no problem, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something that really separates us from anybody else is we're hard on them. We're really,
We
really
have
hard
to
on them, and
be.
they love it, you know, and it makes them really,
I
really good.
this bugs a lot of people when I say this, especially in a big group of men. We humans like to be told what to do.
Right.
Depending
Meaningful
on
struggle.
depending on your depending on your personality, because there's some of us like if you tell me what I can't do, oh fuck, just clear the way.
I'm
I'm
on.
coming through it. No, I'm gonna go through it.
Right, right.
If you
I'm
tell me
on.
if you tell me what to do, I'm gonna shrug my shoulders, but I'm gonna make it. And I think it's just my blue collar mind. I'm gonna make it fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it the quote unquote, not to be cliche, but like I'm gonna make it the splash way. And so when I hear this, it's like, how awesome is that? What and I don't see that in a lot of trades. I do know framers do this and drywallers do. Well, they'll do something that's really weird, like they cut a corner, they had to build something just really unique, and they go back to the shop and they're demoing it. So
Right.
fucking awesome for you guys to have that openness.
Yeah.
We have rules and regulations. Like, let's be real.
Right.
In whatever skills we do, we have
We've got codes and
insurances and
standards.
licenses.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
codes and standards. But it doesn't mean that you can't think outside of the box and say, hey, what about this?
Right.
And
right.
so I commend you on that.
Yeah.
I want to talk more about the Blue Collar School, but before we do, let's listen to our sponsor, and we'll be back with Tyler. We're going to talk all about the Blue Collar Tour and what that is, and we'll be back. No handouts, just work. That is the motto of blue collars across the world. You and me alike, we understand what it is to get off a job site, look all dirty, getting ready to go out to dinner, trying to find some clothes that still represent that we are blue collar to the bone. Well, visit my friends at Trep Wear. That's TREP wear.com. What is Trep, you ask? It stands for the real everyday people. That's you. That's you every day. You are real. You are an everyday human being that just loves and has passion about what you do. Well, wear it pridefully on your shirts, on your shorts, on your jackets, and on your baseball hats. Visit my friends at trepwear.com and use my code SPLASH25. Get 25% off and be part of the real everyday people of the blue collar world. All right. So Tyler, we could have hours of conversations, I feel, in just the hour we've talked. But I want to talk about the school. I want to talk about the tour. So you, as I told you earlier, you guys, your crew are more than welcome on. I got to get Gerald and Colton on. I got it. I got to get them on.
Good guys.
Just Gerald, for those that have never, like, you want to see old school, but like very like, it's like that John. He has a little bit of that John Wayne.
Yeah.
This is Gerald. I can't even do his
voice.
Yeah. But he's
so
his delivery.
Yeah.
Is what I love. And you guys have what, 12 teachers or
15.
Okay, yeah. So a little off on there, but I know you guys have a lot. But what is the Blue Collar Tour? When I talked to Bo about it, I was blown away. I was like, fuck, I wish I would have known 9 months ago. I would have went with you guys,
Yeah.
But what is that? It's something you're pushing. How long has it been around and what exactly is it? Because you're talking to schools, you're talking to politicians, like, fuck, what's the T?
Right. Yeah. So Blue Collar Tour, that really started during coronavirus when everybody, and kind of to your point, tell me I can't do something and I will figure out a way to do it,
Yeah.
Kind of ties into mental health too, because, when coronavirus really came out and it was strong, nobody was doing in-person events. They're like, well, we're going to do it on Skype or Zoom or all this. And I said, piss on that. These kids in America, they want to see face to face. They want to see people. They want in-person events. And my team is made up of a bunch of savages that are really, really passionate about building a better generation, and they really care. Gerald and Colton, a couple guys that you've seen and kind of have some like definitely there's a connection there, right?
I look forward to their videos. I look forward to the knowledge that they drop, because it speaks to me. And that's not to interrupt here, but like your team that you've built, I know most of the people that are filming.
Yep.
You've done a really good job by letting them show whom they are.
Right.
And testament to you guys. So I can only imagine what it's like out being on tour at these schools,
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah.
teaching and
Yeah.
encouraging.
Yeah, yeah, because we want it. Yeah, and we want it real. Like we want to. There was a story of a guy that was he's like, well, who am I going to be? He started noticing that he was a different person around his family, a different person around his colleagues at work. He was a different person around his friends, and we try to just be the same exact person every day, no matter who we're with. And and that takes a lot of energy out because um, you'll people walk up to you in the airport and, oh, hey, I want to take a picture with you. You know what I mean? And it definitely it wears because you just want some privacy every now and then. But so this in-person events, when nobody was doing in-person events, I said, we're going to go out there and we're going to do in-person events. We're gonna, and I just coined it right there. I said, we're going to go around, we're going to talk to these kids about working with their hands, and we're going to call it the blue collar tour. And this is the third year we've done it. The first year, we did 15 schools.
When you say
The second
schools,
year,
are these junior highs and academies
no, these are high schools
or
or
high schools?
career tech. Yeah, CTE.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we basically we do a voting system where we put it out, and we want to see the students vote, but then we want to see the teachers vote as well because um, you know, if you ask me to come to your house, um, don't stand by the door and tell me chapter and verse how I have to enter. Right? You
Yeah.
invited me. Like, let me come there and talk about what I'm going to talk about and do what I'm here to do. And so it's a vote. I've got some really awesome tech people, and every time somebody votes, it pops up on our big screen. It's got a dot, and the dot size is how many people votes. So it looks like a heat map, and we use that data to kind of plan our route. This year we had 30 high schools on our schedule. We went from the West Coast to the East Coast. That big snowstorm come in, so we didn't do actually the last three schools. So we did 27 different stops. We rented a 45-foot tour bus, just like the rock bands, crammed it full of swag and merch and camera people, and rotated instructors out. And yeah, that's what we do. We go to these schools. We talk to the teachers. We talk to the counselors. We talk to the students. We talk to parents. Quite often, contractors will meet us there. Different sponsors, different people that are involved with it. But really, it started with wanting to do in-person events, but every single week, Western Welding Academy, and this number continually is rising, but as of last month, the report was it was an average of 300 people every 7 days apply to come to Western Welding Academy. So we
That's
only
awesome,
take,
man. Congrats.
yeah, thank you, but we only take 15 on average. So it's like we have this massive voice, 70 million people a month we reach, and so what can we do? From like like my perspective, it's like, well, our school, we've got enough interest, we got enough people. We promote for the other trades? Because kind of going forward, like how, um, like what about the carpenters? What about the plumbers? What about the electricians? What about the machinists? What about the painters? Right? These are all jobs that people are just unaware of, and so how do we go around and how do we use our platform how can we leverage that to really help the youth of America? It's about building a better generation. It's not just about building these welders. We want to make this generation better. We want to educate them, equip them with everything that we can. So that's our mantra. It's not show up and, hey, you should be a welder, right? Like,
Yeah.
because trust me, 300 people a week want to be a welder, but be a plumber, be an electrician, be a carpenter, a painter, and so that's why we call it the blue collar tour, because it's about the blue collar trades. Now it's something that Western Welding Academy does, but it is just so mind blowing the impact that we're able to have. The you would not believe that some of the
Do you see it
stories and
in
the
do you see it in their eyes, the
oh
students?
yes, and they'll call you, weeks, months, sometimes years later, and say, hey, you were the defining moment that my parents were really pushing me to go be an accountant,
You're
right? Well,
giving me chills, Tyler. You're giving me
hey,
chills.
you know what I mean?
I
Like
do.
everybody wants to talk about AI. You kind of mentioned this earlier. Like, well, if you're going to be an auto mechanic, well, that job's not going to be around.
Fuck.
BS, dude.
Yeah.
AI is going to replace the accountants and the attorneys. I mean, that AI program just passed the bar exam. Like, you can't tell me that I'm not going to need an attorney in 20 years, in 10 years, but I promise you, somebody will need to change the brakes on my car, right? Like, somebody is going to need to do a head gasket swap. Somebody is going to need to weld this. Somebody is going to need to paint this, and so it's like these kids reach out and they're like, and because it's grassroots, we don't like. I've given up. I learned a long time ago. We're fighting 3 generations of go to college, go to college, go to college. Uh, you know, forget going to the counselors, forget going to the parents, forget going and it's like you go out there and you put this presentation on, and the kids are just mind blown, and then the parent comes along, and you're talking to them, and they're like, well, tell me how it works and give me the data, and you're like, you're running them down, boom, 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 and all in the very end, they're just like, wow, that's insane. You mean I can have this career and have these benefits and do this? Yes, you can.
How
And
many
then
parents do
in
you
the same
think
breath,
how many parents do you think quit their job to go into the trades?
well, so that's what I'm getting to. So you get all the way done, and these parents, and they're like, well, I've got a 16, 17-year-old son or daughter, and an insanely high majority of them, after hearing that whole thing, an insanely high majority of them say, but my son or my daughter is going to be an accountant. My son is going to be an attorney. I've been saving for his college fund. My son is going to be an engineer. And it's like, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And so it has to be grassroots. We have to take that message. We have to tailor it. It has to fit this generation, because literally the survival of America depends upon this. And so we have to get there in the most efficient manner possible. There was this year, some folks from the Navy reached out, and basically, long story short, they said, hey, our country is trying to build 3 submarines a year. This is something we haven't done in 20 years. And we are 100,000 blue collar workers short. This is such a national security issue that the Pentagon formed a special unit in the Navy to solve the workforce problem, right? And so they reached out and they said, hey, we want to partner with you. We want to connect with you. How can we help you? And so we're involved with multiple programs with the DoD and the Pentagon and the Navy. And it's like we're down here in the grassroots telling the stories every day, reaching out. We're cutting through all the minutia. We're not fooling around with trying to bring the politicians on board. We're not trying to bring. We want to go straight to the kids. We want to have a message that speaks to them, and it's so powerful. 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, you hear this kid. He's like, hey, I was basically being pushed to go to this path. And like my defining moment, I'm so excited. I'm going to go be a machinist. Like, my hat's off to you. You know what I mean?
Do it.
Like if we can do that, and that kid is going to have such a better quality of life doing something that he's super passionate about. And dude, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's the truth.
Yeah, and no, amen. Preach. It's as a student, my dad was very much. I mean, I graduated in '98. My time was finance. Computers were there. There was no Facebook. I'm that old, motherfuckers.
Right.
There wasn't even. I think like the year after I graduated, maybe 2, there was this thing called MySpace.
Oh yeah.
And maybe the year I graduated, like it was like I'm not like, I feel young as shit though. It's just never. But like my generation was that kids. I remember graduating, not knowing, and I tell my 3 kids this all the time. The weirdest day of my entire life. Like I can't think of and I've done 9/11, and I was actually at Discover Card housing calls because it was our building that fell, was Morgan Stanley. So like I've done some weird shit.
Right.
The weirdest day of my life was the first Monday after I graduated. I woke up and had zero fucking direction. It's not to
Wow.
say I didn't have a job,
Right.
but like
Where do I go from here?
let that sit for a minute. I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Right.
You know, being from Utah, the catalyst is we'll go on a mission and
Right.
go
Right.
to school. I had scholarship offers, but school didn't start till fucking September.
Right.
You know, and I tell my kids this all the time, like, listen, you don't need to know what you're gonna do. But
Mm-hmm.
what I will tell you to do is find something that you're passionate about and work on that,
Mm-hmm.
because that passion will make you money.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out like what you're ultimately of. And if you Rolodex through a few, that's fine. A Rolodex kids is what you used to write names and numbers on and addresses and flip through it like Johnny Smith. And you could tell. So,
Right.
for those that don't
Sat on
feel,
your desk. You can flip through it. Yeah.
God damn, I
Yeah.
feel old sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, like it's so important, and I would love to come on tour. We can talk about it. I'd love to come on tour and be the painter and the business owner and talk about that stuff, because like one thing that I've seen that I've helped in my world is I've taken in conversation, not taken, but like I've helped through emails on social media. We're like, hey, we want to do this. Where I'm actually talking to like a dad and a son, or a dad and a daughter, or
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. We want to start our business. They're going into business for themselves, is what I'm trying to get to. And they're seeing like, hey, we can make $500,000 and have 4
Mm-hmm.
employees being our family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't,
Mm-hmm.
and I love this. I love, I've always told my wife, like, I'd love to own like a bed and breakfast, or own like a little store in an old community where everyone comes in. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
like when I mean, I grew up with my dad, so this is why, like, I remember going to stores. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? You brought
Mm-hmm.
your son? Little
Yeah. Yeah.
Splash. Like, how's this
Yeah.
going? Those days are slowly coming back around, but it's because I'm gonna say it, it's the blue collar tribe. It's us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're there. We're creating that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So you're so spot on with that, Splash. I got started in the West Coast. So I was born and raised in Washington State, and
oh, what part of Washington?
a little town called Battleground.
Okay, I know. I have a home
You
in
know where it is?
I have a home in Washougal.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah, yeah, right down the
I
road,
know
right down the road.
exactly where you're at.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I grew up there, and I
Beautiful
told
area too.
it is, yes,
Fucking gorgeous.
yes. The trees are insane. It rains too much for me, and which is why relocated to the great state of Wyoming. But I grew up there, and I worked all over the place. And I went to work for a company called JH Kelly. It's a long story. I'd love to tell it maybe on another podcast, um, but I got to work on the North Slope, of Alaska, all the way down to the California border, and it becomes like your family. Everybody on that job site, I can remember, I mean, just 1,000 different stories of the superintendent. We're on a shutdown one time, and everybody's hurrying, trying to, a shutdown, for everybody that doesn't know, it's when you shut the entire plant down and you go in there like a team of Navy SEALs, and you rip a bunch of stuff out and you replace it, or you fix a bunch of stuff, and then you turn the plant back on, and you just work around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because when that plant's down, that company's not making any money. And so they hire the most elite savages they can find to come in there and shut that plant down, because they want that as little as possible. And I mean, I could go on for days of the different stories of somebody running off and convincing this lady to make meat pies, because the crew was hungry, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and this lady finishes up and he brings them back, and I mean, they're just it's a family. And all these people, they come from all different backgrounds and different walks of life, but their mission all is the same. They're out there producing some product or good or service, and um, it 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 it's a brotherhood. It really
Yeah.
is. It's a tribe. And
That's why I use the word tribe. I can tell this. You read a lot of books. I read a lot of books. I like,
yeah,
um, I like true stories. I like the self-help books too. But it's interesting. My wife and I were having this conversation last night about nature versus nurture, and I have a firm belief that whatever you've grown up in, like
hmm
it's ultimately your decision.
right.
Long story short, Splash grew up in 30 different foster homes. I was
hmm
told from my counselors I'd end up in prison like my mom and dad.
Oh wow,
Fuck you, bitches. Never happened.
look at me
But
now.
you know,
Right.
but it's and my wife's like, so was it really your nature? Was it your nurture? I said, well, no. I looked at everything around me and said, I want better for myself.
hmm
And to put it in the blue collar tribe world, we have the ability to make that. You
Right.
say family, I say tribe, they're interchangeable. It's the same damn thing.
Yes.
But I've only ever had two employees that I've ever, and I have said this to them, as when in letting them go, being in the trades is not for you.
Right.
You don't have drive, you don't have determination, you have the inability to work, and this is after 6 months. People don't think I'm that much of a dick. You have the inability to work within this family unit.
Right.
you know and so when you say, like, no story, you've never heard any white collar person be like, oh, so in our office meeting today, John came in and told Sally about the one time they were down at lunchroom getting salad. No, 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 no.
Right.
You don't hear that shit. In the blue collar world, it's like, oh my God, Fred and Susie, you would not believe we had to fucking crawl under this road,
Right.
and like we fucking busted the pipe and we were welding. It was shit.
Right.
All of a sudden, this baby duck came out, and then the
Right.
mom duck attacked us. Like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
fucking blue collar.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
That's
it.
right. The time that I crawl off the right of way to take a crap and have my pants down and looked over to my left and seen a game cam. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people, we're not the same. You know what I mean? And I'm like wondering if the hunter, whoever hunts this, I'm like sneaking onto his property because they're in a blue room, within a mile, and yeah, we're not the same.
No, we're not.
Yeah. Remember the time the ditch caved in and my helper jerked me over the pipe? You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not the same. Yeah.
No. And it's not to say, listen, it's not to say I'm married to a very white collar. It's not to say that they're not. But you said something earlier, and I'm glad I can bring it back to this, is that married people that are in the trades, one thing about being a trade person is it seems, quoting that we're always working. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's transition that to the white collar person. Now, I'm married to someone who's moved up, but
Sure.
I've seen her progress. Every weekend, she's telling me about work. We'll just be sitting there smoking a cigar, maybe having a beer. Oh my God. Hey, what are you thinking about? Because, like, if you're in tune with those around you, I don't mean to be super hippie, but it's what I am. Like,
Right.
if you're really in tune with your loved ones and friends and family, your tribe, like, you can sense something's wrong. Say, hey, what's wrong? Oh, I'm just thinking about this fucking email and this. I'm like, fuck you. See, you're thinking
Right.
about it. You're thinking about it. So because I come home and grab my tools and make something in the garage,
Right.
I'm doing the same thing you are, fucker. Like,
Right.
it's a different perspective. Like,
Yes.
you don't have, in the white collar world, you don't get tools. In the blue collar tribe world, there's an endless amount of tools. I saw this TikTok. God, I'm such a whore with social media. I saw this TikTok yesterday, and it's this guy. The comment was, how to tell your wife you need more tools without getting in trouble. And obviously the video staged.
Right.
He's laying underneath the sink, and he's like, honey, you just spent $800 at Target or at Home Depot. What was it for? Well, honey, you said you wanted a sink, a new faucet, so this one is 180. Well, where'd the other 400 go? Well, see, I have Craftsman drills for my auto shop. Those drills won't work. They'll break the nuts on here. So I had to get the Milwaukee's. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, we always find a reason to have more tools. But the thing is, to really spotlight this, you make that money.
Yeah.
You just have to be passionate. You just have to understand that if you can show up a Brunt is not one of my sponsors, and I love their boots. So hopefully we'll bring them on soon. Like if you lace up your Brunts and you get your fucking ass to work, guess what? There's a paycheck at the end of the road. You're going to have a funny story to tell your family when you get home. You're going to have a funny story to always. I know, like when I go to lunch with my father-in-law, he was a miner in Winnemucca for years. And when I would go to lunch with him and his coworkers, it never felt, oh my God, hey, William, do you remember when we did, like you were saying, remember when we took a shit in front of that fucking deer cam? Well, Johnny sent it to me. Look at your ass.
Yeah. If you want to live an intense life, like, trust me, and hey, I don't want to downplay, somebody that has to reconcile my business checking account because I need that work done. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't ever remember I've never heard of an adrenaline filled moment when the spreadsheet glitched out. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like I could tell you 100 stories of I was on a pipeline, and I got to be a little bit careful because I don't want to jeopardize some people here, but my boss gets in a fist fight with another foreman, and he never got fired. I'm talking there's 500 people there, and rolling out of the job shack trailer, the aluminum steps are really loud when you I mean, over the handrail, the door just blows open. We're waiting for the safety meeting to start. Boom. I'm like looking, whoa, what, and two dudes are duking it out, and I'm like, hey, that's my boss. And I tell my welding partner, I'm like, hey, we got to go over there and help him. You know what I mean? Like, nobody got fired. Like, in what world do you white collar people live in that would work? Like we all went to work that day and built America.
They probably had some beers a few days, the same day or not. I mean,
the night before, guaranteed, right? Yeah. Got in a little argument. Hey, settled it right there.
But then afterwards, they went and had more beers.
Right. It was all cool. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So one thing that, and we've talked about, I hope if you don't want to talk about it, it's totally fine. But you mentioned something called the Spirit Quest.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that listen to my podcast or don't know, like I did take a year off of life. It was very mental health. I call it shedding the skin. Think of a snake. I shed that. Not that I'm a snake like that, but like I shed the skin. I'm a gorilla, so maybe they lose their fur and it grows back, but they don't. But like, it's this metaphoric thing of like I call it clicking. You said it, and I forget the word you used, but like it's a high energy job being blue collar. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of, if you don't hear a cuss word on a job site, I'm a little scared that like
you're probably not on a job site.
I don't know who you hired. Like, what the fuck? Even in my beautiful state of Utah, I hear some of those bishops that are white collar. I mean, that are blue collar. Like, motherfucker. I'm like, oh really? Yeah. But it happens. But you said Spirit Quest. I call it. I use the word like mentally, sometimes emotionally, physically. So any of those traits that we have as humans, sometimes things aren't clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important, part of what this tribe is, to be aware of it and have a space. First off, if you're going through any mental health, whatever it is, this is your space. Call me, DM me. I don't give a fuck. I'll get back to you. You are not alone. Like, I just want to make that very clear. You are not fucking, men or women, doesn't matter. Because sometimes we just don't feel comfortable going to our wife, our husband, our kids, our aunts, even our best friends. Like, honestly, like you've been in the trades long enough. Like sometimes your best friend out of work doesn't know the shit that happens in work, even though they want to tell you over a drink. So you said Spirit Quest. What is that? Because I think I really was loving what you were talking about as we talked about that for a minute. Like why and the importance of it in the blue collar world.
Yeah. So, and just to be totally transparent, I didn't coin that phrase. My assistant, she's the one that coined that. So, but it just stuck, and that's just what we call it here at Western Welding Academy. And it's when you're working, you're grinding, and you're, I've been up, so Western Welding Academy has tripled in size every other quarter since its inception. So every 90 days we're hiring more people and building more systems and implementing more software and discovering new teaching techniques and to be the CEO of that, like there's an incredible amount of stress. And I remember early on in the early days, you know, I always believe cash doesn't do you any good sitting in the bank account because it's not making any money. And so I would run really every time we got more cash, we would use it to grow. And I mean, I've been over the toilet puking my guts out because I wasn't sure how we were going to make payroll that next week. The stress of the job of building anything, of holding a tribe together, and you know I don't know. I just think like anything that is worthwhile to do or build in life is it's going to be hard. It's going to be there's going to be a struggle, and the power to get up and just crush it every single day. Positivity, smile on your face. Some days not having any idea what you're going to do the next day or how you're going to solve some problem, but it just builds an immense amount of stress, and you might need a spirit quest. You might need to just check out for a few days, maybe even a week, right? And so
Yeah.
I remember it was like the moment when we got because my cell phone number used to be on the Google Maps. It used to be on all of our signs, because like when you're small, that's what you do. Because
Yep.
when somebody calls you, you got to answer, right? The buck
Yeah.
stops with you as the
That's your
founder.
money. That phone call, that ringtone is money coming in.
Don't miss that one, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it got to where that phone was ringing between 80 and 100 times a day, and it was ringing all hours of the day and night. And the stress of that, not wanting to drop that, but like, I, and I hate like giving up is I would rather die than give up. You know, we will figure this out. It doesn't matter how hard it is. We will figure it out. Whatever it is, that's one of our core values. You figure it out. And I hate the word no. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. And so my phone was ringing, literally. I mean, every other minute, dude. And
Yeah.
and it got to where like the walls were just closing in, dude. And I couldn't. It was just debilitating. I couldn't. I started second guessing myself. I started like honestly, my confidence started going down because I was trying to do so many different things all at once, and that's anybody who's grown a very very fast growing with a ton of momentum business. It's I think anybody can relate to that.
Well,
And
you don't stop and shit. You're always running and shit's just falling out
at
of
a
you.
dead run,
Yep.
right? Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and it finally got to where I
Weird
just
analogy, but that's the way it is.
right. It's so true, and it
Yeah.
got to where I could not go on, not one more minute, and I I remember like like you ever had like tears of frustration? There's tears of
A
frustration, and
lot.
then there's tears of sadness. Like
Yeah.
it's not very often I get tears of sadness. Somebody dies, I'm at their funeral, something like that. Tears of frustration. It's that moment where you know that you're about to break, but you you and why it's so frustrating to me is because I hate that. I hate not having the strength or and I remember just like I could feel him, you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
said, I don't have it. I have to take a step back. And my dad,
Yeah.
he's been my business coach for a long time. He calls it a clarity break. You need to just to take a moment
Yeah.
and get clarity. And so I remember I walked in and I handed my phone to my assistant and I said, hey, can you hold on to this for a little while? And in my mind, I just needed a couple hours. And she said, yeah, you know, she knows the phone password. Totally trust her. She said, yeah, what do you want me to do with it? I said, well, answer it when it rings. Well, what do you want me to tell him? I said, I don't know. Take a message, you know? And
It's your time to shine. Be creative.
right, figure it out, you know? And she said, well, where are you going? I said, I'm gonna go home, and she said, like, are you okay? I said, or I don't even think she said that. She just said, okay, yeah, I'll answer it when it rings. So I got my truck. I started driving home. I get halfway home. I have this little backup phone. It's called the Light phone. I don't know if you've ever look them up on Instagram. They're the phone. They're like an off the grid phone.
Oh, okay.
And there's like three people that have the number. And she calls that, and she's like, I just wondering, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like because it's like there's like some like self-defeat if you admit
Yeah.
that you're not okay, right? I mean, I think that, and long story short, I came back a week later. Um, and I needed that whole week for just clarity, for like this mental reset to really just iron out the issues that I was facing, the struggles, the different problems I was trying to overcome in the business, and um, things that we were working on and building, and how to fix them, and what people we needed, and like, um, and uh, I walked back in a week later, and the whole team's looking at me like, "Wow," you know,
You're
and
back.
you're back. And she's like, yeah, he was on a spirit quest, and they just kind of coined it. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I've taken a couple of these little mental resets. um I take probably 3 or 4 a year, in all honesty, and that's the only way that, like, really I can keep that momentum.
Mhm.
um and I don't know, I mean, it's I think everybody needs that, and I think that
No
the
matter the
very,
level,
like,
where no matter the level,
right,
I want
it
to
doesn't
clarify.
matter the level.
It doesn't matter the
Yes,
level
yes.
because I don't want to take away. I love that. I want to add something. And maybe you feel different about it, but in the perspective of who I am as Splash and the host and
Hmm.
what I'm trying to build is like you said something very important. You told this person that you were okay. In hindsight now, do you feel sometimes that you do you feel comfortable saying, "Look, I'm not okay, I just need well, now you have a coin. You can if you say spirit if you walked in today, if you said Spirit Quest, they know. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's important that you do. But I what I'm trying to say is I know you didn't say that you weren't okay, but I would push the blue collar tribe to say it's okay to say I'm not okay. Self-awareness in the mental health because you were self-aware that something was wrong, but you
But
kinda
why
said
did
like,
it have to get to that level,
"Yeah."
right? Like,
It's so much. I
yeah,
don't care whether you were like me as a painter that had up to 30 employees or the time I had 2. I couldn't tell you what was a bigger stress. I
yeah,
couldn't.
yeah.
And for you to acknowledge that, like, fucking, I'm giving you a hug, like, fucking awesome, like,
I
embrace it. It's
appreciate that.
it's okay. I
Yeah.
just I just think that listen, you were no less badass. In fact, in my mind, you're a bigger badass person, whatever word you want to put in there. If you can tell someone in your life, "Hey, I'm not okay. I don't know what's wrong. I'm not feeling like it's clicking." That's my term. I like to look, things just aren't
Yeah.
clicking. And that's what I tell my wife, like, things aren't clicking right now. And I again, do this if you consult a doctor and all that other shit. So just preface this. Make
Sure.
sure your state's legal. Like I do smoke cannabis. I have my cannabis card. It's not for everybody. I, have consulted a doctor about microdosing. There
Mhm,
are certain things I'm very organic person, and I
mhm.
understand it's not for everyone. Like I'm not trying to say go out and do this because obviously jobs, there's requirements and things, OSHA and all that bullshit. I put myself in timeout.
Mhm.
I have a room in my house that I go and sit down in. No electronics are allowed in it. My Alexa's the only thing in there because I love music, but I'll play like God, I'm too hippie. I'll play like drum music. I play tribal music. I really do play like tribal, like that tribal because I really like that energy. But I'm a wavelength person too. Like I like the wavelengths. I meditate with beads, and if you're watching
Mhm,
us on the video, I do sage sticks in my studio. Like
mhm,
whatever it is, I don't give a fuck what you decide to do.
mhm.
Just do it because it's
Right.
you. So I
Yeah,
commend you in such a position of being of a high person, acknowledging like, hey, I'm not okay. I'm gonna take care of myself.
yeah.
And now realizing, do you is this part of a teaching culture within your academy too, that you have these conversations that
Ye
your classes are having?
Yeah, and I think that I wanna add on to that, and kinda what this is whole, like, my dad always says, "Don't drive so hard to where you just have to hit this wall." And Bo Barkley, director of marketing here, incredible human. He's so disciplined. He takes these little moments every day, and so where I'm just like 100 mile an hour, boom, hit the wall.
You and I seem similar. Like,
Spirit Quest,
don't tell me not to hit a wall. I'm gonna hit it anyways.
right.
Thanks, Dad,
And
but I'm gonna hit
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And but if you can chip away at that every day, right?
Mhm.
You never get to that point. And you never have to um, you know, coin things like Spirit Quest. You never have to like, because it's painful and it's expensive. Don't get me wrong. Because you just
But it's
lost a whole week.
but it's
But
healthy though, Tyler.
it
It
without a shadow of a doubt,
it's
without a shadow of
healthy.
a doubt.
So
Yeah.
I think what you're getting to, if I can, you're find a good balance.
Find a balance, do it daily, weekly, whatever, on a like a regular disciplined basis. And that's what I try to like tell people is like, take a Spirit Quest, even though or take a clarity break, take an hour a day, take an hour a week, whatever it is. I'm terrible at doing it. But that's our message to our staff, our students, anybody we talk to. Just take a little moment. Like,
But you've done it and you have the wherewithal to know it. So
it works.
people like you and I that are high energy, go. I woke up at 2:30 this morning. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
Right.
I just did. My mind couldn't shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finally, I
Oh,
slept
yeah.
for another hour. It's okay. I thought a lot of things through. And as a reader, I've noticed this last about 4 months, nights when I read books, no matter what I'm reading, I sleep better. My next day at work is so much more productive. Even if it's a chapter a day. It's so weird. Like, it's the only way I can put it. Like, because I think there's a lot of I get a lot of DMs like, "Hey, I really am high energy. How do I deal with this?" Like, and I like that I like that I can be that person that, like, I'm not afraid to say, "Look, I fucked up," or, "Hey,
Right.
I have too much on my plate. I'm gonna give it away." Like, one of my things this year in building what I'm building is like, I'm not an octopus. I can't hold everything down. If I find someone who has a strength, I'm gonna say, "Here, motherfucker, take it."
Yep.
And then I'm gonna let you show yourself how good you are. Because you're right. At the end of the day, like, I don't know. I think in my mindset, as I've learned and experienced this beautiful world that we call home, I'm responsible for what I do. I can't control anyone else. I just can't. I can't control the employees. I can't control who downloads this podcast. But I do know this: people will hear it, and they're going to have someone in their life that, like, "Oh, you need to listen to this," or people are going to hear it and be like, "Wow, this is really cool." They're going to hear like, "Hey, my son or daughter needs to go into the trades," like they want to. And mom and dad, if you're listening, please, for the love of whatever fucking belief system you have, stop telling your kids that they need to go to college. It's not that it's not important. There's other ways to be happy, a good functional human being, without wasting millions and millions of dollars. Which leads me to a question. I don't know what you guys you charge. That you are an academy. There is a cost. Knowledge costs money sometimes. But roughly, if someone's looking into your institution, can you give us a rough? I don't know what. I actually have never looked at your numbers. But what does it cost to go to academy? What is the time frame too? I don't want to have this conversation not have part of that be it. But what is that? What does that frame look like for you guys?
Yeah. So essentially, we've got 5 programs. When we first started, I basically said, "Hey, we're just going to have one program. We're going to be super simple. We're going to create a welder that can tackle any job. A welder can tackle anything." And we built a 6-month course, and we just started at the very basics and brought them up to this really, really high level where they can weld high pressure pipe anywhere. They can go to any nuclear powerhouse and make a X-ray quality weld, and no worries. But what happened was we had so many students coming to us from other schools that spent 6, 8, 9, 10 months there, and they didn't have the level of skill that they wanted. Now, I don't want to name names or whatever, but it didn't seem fair to put them into this 6-month course because they didn't really need that. They had the basics, and it was kind of painful. And eventually we ended up with, we took our welder 5, which is our 6-month course, costs $25,700. It's a 6-month course, and we broke it into 4 different groups. So anybody that comes from another school, they can go right into our, because it goes welder 1, welder 2, welder 3, welder 4, and then welder 5 is the whole mess, right? That's our 6-month course. If you're coming out of high school, you just take welder 5 because it's going to teach you everything. If you're coming from another welding school, or if you're coming from a field, we get a lot of that where maybe they've worked in the field and they want to learn more. They want to upskill themselves. They can go right into welder 2 or welder 3, or but they have to pass a pre-test in order to jump ahead. But so if you go to applytoweld.com, our courses page, and 98% of our students, they all come from out of state.
Do you have other opportunities in other states? Are you looking to expand into other states?
We've looked at a number of different options, and we've got something that we're working on right now that I think will be really, really beneficial. We want to have a massive impact on not only the welding, industry, but all across the trades. And so we're putting something together right now that I think I don't necessarily want to talk about right now.
We'll bring you on when that's announced.
Yeah,
we'll definitely have you on.
Yeah. So and that will, it's a kind of a compilation of everything that we've learned, and it will be, it blows my mind every day as more and more we learn as we're putting it together. But
28,000 for welding, roughly.
About 26.
26.
25/7. Yep.
Do you offer financing? Because a lot of these kids are high school. So,
absolutely. Financial aid, housing.
I asked that question because a lot of I feel like with at least my kids, they don't go without, but right. They earn it. But I had my son, he's nowhere near getting ready to move out of the house, but I had him write numbers down. It was actually yesterday, we were talking. I said, hey, write these numbers down. And he's like, what's that? I said, that's roughly what it's going to cost you today if you moved out.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at it, he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
And he's like, but how? And when he said that to me, I'm like, work, diligence. Right. I said, but more importantly, find something you love and passionate about. That $ right there will mean shit to you.
Right.
And he's like, all right, cool. I don't like the deter. I being someone who did go to college for a little bit, college deterred me because of cost. An academy, that's what you are. It's like, don't let those deter. So I think it's awesome that you guys, I ask that question so people listen. And we give different options to people.
Yeah. What we want our system to work. We used to do this program with the state of Wyoming where they're like, hey, we got millions of dollars in this account. Come help us, deploy that to people. And so we started looking into it and we started doing it. And I'm like, man, this grant program, it's only for these people that didn't graduate high school. They have a criminal history. It was like, there was nothing in there that said this money shall go to people who really, really want it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I went back to him. I said, here's your money back. We don't want it. We want our system to work. We want financial aid. We want housing. We want to remove every barrier for the student that really wants to be a welder. If you want to be a machinist, or you want to be a carpenter, or I'm not going to try to convince you to be a welder. Go be that. But the guy that really, really wants to be a welder, we got to remove every barrier for them. Financial aid, because you're absolutely right. If I'm 18 years old, I don't have 2 nickels to rub together hardly.
Yeah.
And so
I'm lucky if I have a car.
Right. So our system, our student selection team, they work with every applicant to make sure it's going to be a good fit for them. It's going to be a good fit for us. And then they work them through the financial aid, their housing. They all come from out of state. They all come here. They learn to weld. They go back generally to their home state and they go to work. And it's incredible.
Do you job place for them?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. So one of the ways we teach work ethic is, and this, being a painting contractor, you bid a project, it's going to take us this square footage because there's a lot of obstacles. I'm just making it up because I don't know the painting industry, but there's a bunch of obstacles. It's going to take us, we're going to be able to put down X amount of square foot per man hour. And then this over here, it's wide open. So we're going to be able to put down double the square footage of paint in a man hour, right? But everything comes down to this man hour budget. And that's what accountability is like we have to be accountable for what we produced on a daily basis. And you can't change. I think Simon Sinek or maybe it was Gary Vee, one of those guys. You can't change what you can't measure. And so if we don't give them the ability to measure themselves, how do they know if they're doing good or not? Right. And so we put man-hour budgets to every little skill. And so every day they can pull out their curriculum book and they can tell whether I'm ahead or I'm behind schedule. And every week that compiles down into this report. It shows their attendance on there. It shows what they're learning. They might struggle on a skill, but it's got a little spot because we're open 24 hours a day. They can come in and put in extra credit. Well, all that funnels down to this report. Every week we give them that report, and then when they graduate, they get their final report. And this is think of it like a credit score. It's literally it's their work ethic score. And so our employers, we've trained our employers. They know this final report. We've got a private group. When the employers have a request for welders,
you have this nationwide.
12.
You have this nationwide.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome.
So we ask them 12 questions. They fill out this form, and we ask all the information, and then we post it in our members only page. And then our graduates, they go on there, they apply for that job. Well, the contractors know that if I'm hiring 5 people and 10 call me, they ask for their final report because that shows them maybe they had a doctor's appointment and had an excused absence, but down here I can see that they made that time up, right?
Yeah.
By working extra credit. And so it's a snapshot, and I like to say it's like a baseball card, because if I got a baseball card that says this is who I'm going to get, this is their stats, this is their data, this is how well they're going to perform. Well, hey, as an employer, can you imagine? Like, that's incredible. So our contractors love it, and it works really, really well. And we tell the contractors, if they won't show you their final report, you don't want them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's interesting. That's a great metric method to do. So one thing I would do when I had employees, one of my biggest goals is I wanted them to leave my company and go make their own business. It's important to me. I must have known I wasn't always going to be their boss, which in hindsight's funny.
Right. Right.
But before someone would leave, and even when they started working, I would always tell people, my mindset is if you call me and tell me you want a job, I don't have analytics like you. A lot of blue collar trades don't have these analytics. This worked for me because it let people weed themselves out, but then we could work on the differences later. But I tell people, go into a room. The minute you walk in that room, your timer starts. This should be a 5-hour job. And I would tell them that. And then it would take them 8 hours or 10 hours. I would tell them, what did you do? Why didn't you get it done? I'm not mad. I'm not mad because it's the accountability test for themselves. Right. I know I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, dude, that's a horrible way. I'm like, to you it is.
But it works for me.
But when you're telling someone, especially for new business owners, when you're telling new business owners about time management when they've been an employee, they don't fucking get it because no one's teaching that.
Right.
Are you going to have mess ups? Is the lumber
without a doubt,
whatever it is, those are okay. But I had this one cat consistently, always, never getting done. And I finally had to tell him, I said, listen, I don't ever see you being that business owner. You can't account for your time for whatever reason. You just can't. But it's called building that good sandwich. But the things that he was good at, he was always clean. There was never any callbacks. I said, let's build on those. How can you teach other people not to have those things? Now he's sped up his time. I still talk to him. He's like, hey, I'm at that time frame now, but I had to understand what was doing it. So he was able to be accountable for those 2 hours.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it goes back to what I'm saying.
Isn't that incredible?
It is. And it's I know in the realm of being blue collar, fuck you, John. Why aren't you doing this? Let's just go to fist on it.
Right.
That happens.
That does, without a doubt. But if you can take the time and have the patience, and my dad always says, you got to tell people something 7 times for them to hear it once.
Yep.
And that's basically what you did. You just kept working that with him over and
Yeah.
over, and eventually he got it. And that's where when them students come in their first day, they go through orientation, they come out in the shop because they're welding day one, and they're like, you see it on their face. They're like looking around. They're like, man, why is everybody in such a hurry? They don't, very rarely do they voice that, but you can tell they're just like, this is such a weird environment where everybody's moving and,
Yeah.
and everybody's happy and fired up and excited. And then, and then, you show them over and over, okay, this every day you need to do your curriculum book. And about, it usually happens in the first week. They're like, if I don't hustle and I don't move, I'm not going to get it done in the time allotted. And we have those man hour budgets way higher than what you would need in the beginning. And we start pinching them down to what, as they work their way through the curriculum, what they actually should take, because that's for the guy that he just was never taught work ethic. He doesn't know that there is a walk. It's fast, right? It's not a run, because that's not very safe, but always thinking 5 steps ahead. What am I going to do next? That mentality, and to build a system that teaches that and produces that. That's what we're all about.
In the culture of being blue collar, time is money, but not in the essence that society says it is. Time is money in the blue collar world because we can make as much money as we want, but time doesn't exist. I know you have a watch. I'm like, it's fake. Someone years ago said, hey, we're going to have X amount of hours a day. We're going to have this many things.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to hold this standard. I, as the business owner, I would have guys that are like, hey, I want to take Fridays off. I don't want to work Friday, Saturday. So no, I live in Utah. It's a very cultured state. I'd never work Saturdays or Sundays. The only
Mm-hmm.
time my employees ever did is if one, it was a job that they didn't get done, like absolutely didn't because they fucked around, or
Mm-hmm.
two, if they just wanted the extra work. But I was getting to the point where I was having my guys work 4 days a week. Like, look, I'll
Mm-hmm.
still pay you the 40 hours. I don't care how you get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
I care that you get the job done and it's done right.
Right.
And if we can change this mindset of like time is money, but you control that.
Right.
And if we can teach them, like I imagine with your academy, your teachers or yourself, it's a great phone call when Spencer calls you, or Sarah calls you and is like, hey, Tyler, or you know what, hey, Colton, thank you, man. That thing you taught me, awesome. I landed my first $30,000 job. Like,
Right.
as a business owner, it's like that little bit of a dad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember one guy called me, he landed $130 something thousand job 6
Yep.
months in. And he calls me, he's like, what do I do? and, and I said, okay, go buy yourself a beer, congratulate yourself, celebrate, and then lace up your fucking boots
And just go
and go
crush it.
kill it.
Right.
Calls
Right.
me 2 months later, it's a 2-month job. And he's like, I made 30 plus, I think it was $32,000 more in what his man hours looked like. He's like, I made that much more. He's like, fucking hell. I'm like, see?
There you go.
It works.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
you held yourself accountable. I didn't.
Right. Right. I just inspired you.
Yes, that's all it is.
Right. Right.
Tyler, you and I can talk for hours. I may have to come up. I've never welded. Like, I'd love to jump in and be a student for like 2 days.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you got, where are you guys at from Salt Lake City?
Basically, we're straight north, a little bit to the east. So we're in Gillette, Wyoming,
Okay.
which is it's the northeast corner, not far from Montana and not far from South Dakota.
All
I
right.
would actually really like to invite you if you want to come up May 6th. That's our welding competition. It's the biggest event we do. It's just a culmination of blue collar tour. Everybody's there. It's an incredible opportunity. We do a open division where any welder in the field can compete in that. We're going to give away $10,000 in $100 bills, cash money for the
Damn.
first place, $7,500 for second, and $5,000 for third place in the open division. And then we do a high school division, which you got to be a high school student. And we give away, it's like a full ride scholarship for first place. I think it's a $15,000 scholarship and a $10,000 for third. But I'm talking people from all over the place will be here. A bunch of famous social media people. I mean, it's just It's a really good time to.
Yeah.
I think if you want to come up and see us, I think that'd be a great time to do it. May
I'll have to
6th.
I'll have to look at my schedule. May
Yeah.
6th rings a bell. I have something. I actually know. It's my wife's 40th birthday, and we
Ooh,
we already have we already have the
you got
vacation
plans.
planned. We'll be in
Yeah.
Cabo. We'll be in Cabo.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
but no, we'll talk off screen. I do want to get up there and do some videos and see what it is. But I know you're busy. I know you got to run. Anything else you want to tell anyone before we bounce off?
Yeah. I mean, really, the biggest thing that I want to say is, um, Western Welding Academy, Blue Collar Tour. Uh, Really, what is it? We're building America from the bottom up. And it all comes back to put the trade haters away. If you believe you can, and if you believe you can't, you're right. Somebody famous said that, not me, but applytoweld.com. Check it out. May 6th, that's our next big event we're coming up on. Go give us a follow at Western Welding Academy, all social media platforms at Real Tyler Sassy. That's mine. If you want to follow me there. And I just really appreciate what you're doing, Splash. It's incredible. We need more people like you out there telling the story of blue collar. And my hat's off to you. It's amazing. I really appreciate
Well,
that.
well, thank you too. You guys are killing it, and I think more trades, and we'll talk off screen about this, but more trades need to be involved in these schools. You can make schools within your own areas. There's a lot of opportunity. Stop thinking that you need to keep all your secrets because it's not a
Right.
secret. It's
No.
not. And if you
Information is
really
free.
did love what you did, you teach it and you move on because remember, someone's gonna do a weld that says this is the Tyler. Well, why is it called that? Because some fucker named Tyler
Right.
did it, you know?
Right.
Someone did a splash, but why? Because some Yahoo, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I'll end it on this. As you all know, I am a firm believer the blue collars are the ones that make the world change. Um, Listen, when you're out in the world, whether you're a high school student listening to this or you're 60 years old and you're getting ready to hang up those boots for the last time, you make a difference. You're out in the world more than anybody. So when you see the young kids, the husbands, the moms and dads, when you're getting your lunch, gas, say hi, tip your hat, wear your merch. We all have merch. Wear your
Mhm.
merch with fucking pride. And if you have the well with them, buy someone a drink. Just acknowledge. My whole point is this: just acknowledge another human being because you can be that change in someone's life that they realize like I have something more to give because you don't know what they're thinking that day or what they've gone through the night before. And if
That's
we
right.
do this to the core of being blue collar humans, just like we make this world turn, we will unite no matter what color, flag,
Yes.
donkey, elephant, whatever the fuck you are,
Right.
you will be the change. And that's more important than absolute superior of calling yourself part of something because we're a tribe and we're here. And lastly, I mean this wholeheartedly, Tyler, you're more than welcome. Anyone from your division is more than welcome. Let's bring some students on and talk about their experiences and share those moments. If you feel you're alone,
Absolutely.
DM me. I'm fucking serious. I will pick up the phone. I will message you back. I will do whatever. But mental health's important. Take care of yourself. Take a spirit quest. I'm going to hashtag that sometimes. And fuck the haters.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Tyler. Let's hear from our last sponsor. It's been a lot of fun, Tyler, and we'll see you. We'll see you soon.
Attention
Awesome. Thank you. I
tribers.
appreciate it.
Plant Powered Marketing is your cutting-edge marketing agency specializing in SEO, Google My Business, website development, and many other strategies that get you ranked #1 on Google. We're your go-to marketing agency for businesses who want to see real, tangible results from their online presence. Our team of experts has years of experience in getting businesses to the top of Google and generating leads through effective online marketing campaigns. Remember to let us build your next website. Contact us if you want to outrank the competition. Plant Powered Marketing, 971-570-0511 or plantpoweredmarketing@gmail.com.